Hello, we are actually progressing in the series of videos for the Stonehearth add-on for Blender, and this is part 3 already. You see here, just for the sake to have a moving picture, I'm activating the turntable in Qubicle for a female model of the worker here, the settler. And in this third part, after we've already taken a look into the Stonehearth files and also actually installing and setting up the add-on in Blender, this time we will, let's stop her, we will export a model, an existing model from Qubicle as an object file, load it in Blender, and then prepare in Blender the skeleton for further animations using the add-on. So that's the task of the day. This here is nothing special, just Qubicle Constructor. You see here the separated body parts of a female model. They are named properly. If I click on a finger here, you see down left, right finger 11, right finger 12. You see the pelvis here, which is the main body part here, the feet. So it's just the QB file loaded from Stonehearth. Now we go to File, Export All. Unfortunately, this feature is only available for the home or master version of Qubicle, so you need to purchase it. Otherwise, you cannot just do what I'm doing here right now. You will get the object settings. What is important for us is the scale here. Just put it or leave it at 1.0 and click on OK. The export is done. We can just then close Qubicle. And here in Blender, we go on File, Import. Importing as wavefront object is a standard feature which is available in Blender, so nothing you need to do here. And I have exported actually the object model here. Just double click it, and with Alt and Z I get also some colors activated in here. So that's now the model. And as I have adjusted here my grid floor plan, now everything looks like this. Now you see on the top right the single parts. These are typically meshes in Blender. So we can just take the head here. With G I can grab it and move it around. So that's how we have here now all the body parts. Again, I grab here the pelvis, move it. So that's how we've imported now the model. We cannot use it yet to animate it because there are some things missing. And the most important probably is where is the origin, as it is called in Blender. If you followed the videos from the developers, you will have seen that Tom was talking about a pivot. So you can say that the pivot which he was talking about, that's actually the origin in Blender. And you see here an orange dot in the center, and whatever body part I select, it's not changing. It's always here the circle with the orange dot. If I grab the head and move it, you see that the orange dot is moving also. And the reason behind it is simply that this orange dot is indicating where my origin is. And now I see that for all my body parts, the origin is at the center here of my grid, which is not a good thing, because if I want to do something with my model later on, hopefully taking body parts and rotating them, for example, if I grab the head, I press R to rotate, you see a small dotted line to the origin, and actually all my modifications will take place against the origin, and that's not the way how we want it. There should be some relationship here between the body parts, and there should be an origin. For example, for the head, I would expect that it is somewhere here, so that if I rotate the head, here is the pivot, and the head moves like that and not moves as a center point around this point here. So that's something we need to adjust. And the easy thing, and that's actually one of the reasons I wrote this add-on, is that we have this information available already. If you remember from the past videos, let me just open a file which is here, the female skeleton file, and that's not the, just let me look, that was not the right one, that was a working version. So you see that I've been playing around with all of this to get the formatting done, but let me see if I just can find the right one here. And there we go, almost. Sorry for that. So if I open the skeleton files, and you have them in the folder structure of Stonehearth, we've taken a look into this already, here it is, then you see that's the skeleton file. We have the body parts, they are the same as we see here, so not the same order as it's alphabetically here. So we have head, let's activate it again, so also the head is here somewhere, that's a good thing. And all the other parts are also there. Not all of them, because there are some like offhand, main hand, root, body position, which are not in this list yet. And that's the second thing we need to do. So we need to adjust the origins, and we need to add these helper bones. So we have the same list here in the overview. And for the origins, that's actually here the coordinates for them. So we see here that, let's not take the root, the head should have its origin on a position which is on the x-axis 15.5, y should be 14.4, and 16.9 on z, so it should be somewhere here and not on 0, 0, 0, which is this position. So the easiest way to do this now is to click on File, say Import Stonehearth. This is the new option which you have now with add-on. Then we go and actually I go to the Stonehearth folder. So you see here that I am now in the mods folder, so that's my Stonehearth installation. Actually it's a graphical test, but let's do like. I go into the mods, I go into Stonehearth. Again, you know the structure already, hopefully. We go to data, we go to rigs, human, and then the skeletons. And we choose the female skeleton file. Again, double click or say import. And obviously not too much has happened, but the add-on has loaded it now. You see this by checking here the info panel. Skeleton file loaded, female, that's the name of the file. It was female.json, and we see it's loaded in here. Now if I click also on prepare skeleton now, you see it became activated. It was grayed out. Now that we loaded a skeleton, it's active. If I click on it, the add-on will do some things of importance for us at the moment. It will check all the body parts which I have here on my scene against what is written in the file. If it finds the body part, it will move the origin to the location which is included in the file. And the second one is that it will check if in the file there are some other names which are not here in my scene, which I don't have here in Blender, like we saw there should be a root, there should be a body position, and if they are not there, it will create some bones here in Blender with the positions out of this file. So actually, if I click here on prepare, this is what will happen, and I will see here some changes. Let me, however, before I click on it, highlight some things. You see maybe and have recognized that there is no camera active here, and I do not have also a lamp. We don't need this because we are just working with the models. It's not for rendering here what we are doing. So you don't need them, and you should not have them in here because Blender is considering all these different elements as objects, and so will the add-on. So if you have here a lamp, and let me add a lamp for example. So we have now a lamp. You will see it is as a separate item here included in my overview. And what happens now with the add-on is that the add-on checks, are all these names here also in the file? It will highlight that this name here is not in the file because the Stonehearth skeleton file is not including any lamps or cameras or anything. So the add-on will not work here and raise an error message. And let's just run it. You will see I clicked. Something happens actually because the orange points are gone, but it's not indicating that it was successful. And if you want to know why, you can open here the debugging information, and you will see some details like the objects in file, which are 31. We have in the scene 27 meshes, which are the body parts. And there is one object which is not in the file. That's obviously the lamp here, this point. And you will see also here a warning that the lamp was detected and could cause an issue. It will cause an issue. So what you want to do is just remove it. And then if you run it again, you see it works through. It's fine, and you see some changes. Now, there might be some other errors occurring if you have here objects with different names than what the skeleton file is expecting. So pay attention that the names are like this here. What happens often if you load twice the same model, it will have the same names for the body part. So Blender just adds here something like a .001. The second time you load it 002. You can avoid this by simply saying file new. If you want to start all over again, then the naming will start again from 0. Otherwise you might run here into issues, and if you see something which is not behaving as expected, just open here the debugging information. Might find a hint on some of the root causes. If not, just post in the official Stonehearth forum, and I will see what I can help to solve the issue. Now, what happened here is that the add-on has now moved the origin, as you see. So let me click the head. You see the origin is now here somewhere down beneath the chin. If I rotate now, then you see the axis is more natural. And this happened to all the other body parts. So you see the origin moved to the position which actually is described in the skeleton file. And you see also for the fingers, the lower finger is now attached kind of to the upper finger. So that's perfectly what we wanted. And also there is now something else. You see here 4 gray boxes, and these are the helper bones. So it's not the right one. You see that's the body position here. Let me just grab it. So it's a square. And you have here a root, and you have here another one which is called main hand, and this should be the offhand. It's not looking great because in this skeleton file you don't see information about the size of these bones. You see only the location of it. So where is this origin? And what I have done here is it's a preset size, so you recognize where something is added, and then you will have to adjust it by hand. So you could go in here to the object, selecting the right object, and work on the scaling and reducing it or enlarging it, whatever you prefer. So adjusting it here in a way that it feels more natural for you and looks better. That's something you would have to do. And always remember, you can save this then as a Blender file, so nothing is lost and you can start working later on. You need to do this actually once, then I would prefer to or suggest to save it as a standard worker model, whatever, and then every time you want to animate, just load this Blender file and you can start working on the animations. Nevertheless, that's actually where the meta file comes into play, and it comes into play also for a second thing which is missing, and that's actually the hierarchy. So I have now, by pressing here prepare skeleton, just adjusted here the pivots and added the blender bones. Now let me remove the blender bones again, because that's not yet how I would like to have the add-on working. That's the pelvis. I don't want the pelvis. I want this one here. So I just removed them all, the helper bones. And the bones are not what I'm happy with like this, and also that the body parts, I can still grab them, move them. There is no link to each other. Now for animating, I would like, for example, that I can select the shoulder, I can rotate the shoulder, and while I rotate the shoulder, the other body parts of the arm have a relationship to this shoulder, so they move with it along. And that's what is not working yet here, but this is for what I have this meta files introduced. Now we have still loaded the female skeleton file. Now let's load the meta file for Sif, which is for me the male and the female. The good thing is that the gender doesn't make a difference, so I need one meta file for my archetype, to say so. Now I have loaded the meta Sif, as you see here, and if I press now the prepare skeleton button, you see something else has happened. First, the bones have now a predefined size, because for these meta files I know for which archetype I want to use them, so I can predefine the look already. Looks a little bit better if you ask me. And you see also that the hierarchy was added. So here you see now, let's show it like this. I take the shoulder, I rotate the shoulder, and the arms rotating also. So this is what is included in this meta file. Some information about the bones, the size of the bones actually, and some information about the parenting. So if I take now the root and move the root, you see that the whole model is moved. If I take the, let's say here, rotate the torso, then you see the upper part of the body is related, and that's what we want to have, because then later on we can just select some of the body parts, move them, add them as a keyframe, and that's the way how animation works. So that's actually what you can do with this meta files. If you don't have them, because they need to be created for each single archetype, let's call it like this. So I have it for the moment for the rabbit, as the rabbit is included in the graphics test, and also for the male and the female one of the worker models. I plan to do this for some others as we have access to the game, but for the time being that's it. If you don't have them, you see it's still working. The difference, and maybe let's show this once more. Let me remove the bones again. The difference which we have then is, and I'm resetting now this here, that Okay, the skeleton I would not need to reset. Load it again. The difference is just that if you don't have it, you would need to adjust the bones by yourself, or leave it like this if you don't bother. They will be not exported in the size into the file, into the animations, just their position, so it actually doesn't matter how it looks like for these bones, but the position matters. The only thing you would need to do manually is to link the body parts, as without the meta file they are not. Okay, now they are. Sorry for that. That's the presentation effect. I should have restarted all over again, but I hope you believe me. Don't want to do this now. So actually, you would have to create this parentship relationship between the single body parts by yourself. That's actually, now let's restart it just for the sake of doing it. So I will reset here everything, start all over again, and now we import the object file, which was the female here. We import also the JSON file, run it, and then you see that the body parts are not linked to each other. So what you would have to do here is to link them together, and this would mean that, for example, the body here needs to be linked to the head or the other way around. So I grab the head, I say, or right click the head, hold shift down, right click the body, press Control P, and then this pop-up comes up with set parent to, click object, and then we've created a relationship. If I move now the body, the head is going along, and this way you need to do it with all the other parts also. So I click here on the, actually that's the thumb 2, right click on the thumb 1, and again Control P, and here I go. Now I have the finger with a relationship. So you need to click the child first, hold down shift, click on the parent, Control P, and then you've created these relationships here. It's a bit painful to do this for such a model with a lot of body parts, and that's again why you have these meta files, which you can create also by yourself for your own models. We'll show this later on in another part of the series. But yeah, it helps quite a lot to fasten this process significantly. So there we are. And once you've done all of this, and just let me import now again the meta file so I can cheat a little bit. Now it's not working. That's a good part to take a look why. And here let's take a look on the debugging information. So we have objects in the file 31, we have objects in scene 27 meshes and 4 bones. Okay, and now actually what happens is that the add-on is checking if the scene has less objects than the file. This is not the case here. You see it here, skeleton error, screen requires, and let's enlarge it a bit, requires less objects than in skeleton file. This is not the case, so let's remove the bones again. That's some sanity checks to ensure that everything works as expected. I can remove it also here. Not deselect but delete, and let's run it again. Here we are. You see here also the parent-child relationship shown up here. And let's just enlarge it. So you see here the relationships. Quite a lot is related to the pelvis. You see how this works. And once that is done, we can now go ahead and click File, Export, say here's Stonehearth JSON, and then you have the option to export two things, either a skeleton file or an animation. For the moment we did not do anything with animation, so let's go with the skeleton file. Let's call this somehow example female exported. That's done. And if I now open this file and just let me show it, so here I have it saved, example female, you see that we have a similar file to the other ones which we used to import. That's the real Stonehearth file, and that's what we've created now with add-on. So you see the body parts are reflected. What is not reflected correctly is here the additional information. This is something you need to adjust manually. Just copy and paste it from the official file into it. That's one of the features I will try to implement in a later version. But you see here we have the skeleton file done, so that's the outcome we wanted. And now we are ready to start animations. To do so, there is some preparation required still. Just click on the prepare animation part. You see the model is moved now to the center, and behind the scenes there are some adjustments taken, but that's not too important for you if you want to do some animations. What is important, now you have the model ready for starting to animate with it. You can now add here keyframes. We will take a look into this in the next part, and then export the animation file, import it into Stonehearth, and you should be ready to go. So that was maybe a lot of information at once. Nevertheless, I hope that it is somehow clear how the add-on works. What is important, pay attention on the naming. If you work with the add-on, you have to have the same names in the scene as in the file. At the skeleton file, it's important to remove objects which have nothing to do with your model, like camera, like lamps, like maybe the standard cube which you see sometimes when you start Blender. Things like that. Otherwise it's just a mismatch between the skeleton file and your scene, and then the add-on will show you an error on that. And as mentioned, if you have any question, just raise it in the official Stonehearth forum, and I will try to explain a little bit more in detail how everything works. Plus, I plan to create some more videos in this series to really get things going a little bit, give more insights on how everything works, and hope that this will help you to create some great animations by yourself. So thanks a lot for stepping by, and the next series will be probably about creating an animation and then exporting the animation file. Thanks, and see you soon.